Hello everyone, this is ponderonweather. In this update, we're going to be talking about yet another massive storm coming with multiple rounds of severe weather, a major snowstorm and ice storm along with the Arctic air. So welcome back everyone. I appreciate all my followers out there and all the new followers and everybody that watched portions of the 9-hour live stream severe weather coverage last night to keep you as safe as possible. We stayed online until a lot of the warnings kind of subsided, but it transferred into a flooding threat overnight. So if you hadn't subscribed already, it's free to do so. All you have to do is click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to get all my daily updates. I would love to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we've got a lot to talk about. So it's important to share this video to let friends and family know of things to come, because this is a very active time frame over the next coming days. Here's the updated radar this morning for the expanded view, and you can see there's more snow flying in Seattle. There's 3 days in a row you have not gotten above freezing out there. We got more rain, welcome rain, into Los Angeles at 52 degrees. There's the warm sector to the south. There's the heavy rain that's to continue to fall overnight, just kind of north of the Birmingham area, north of Atlanta here. Some of these areas have picked up some 4-inch rain amounts, and that's going to continue diving off to the southeast. But there's the cold and Arctic air to the north at 24 below zero in Winnipeg. And that's going to be making its beeline further south in the days to come and be a huge change for a lot of people. So let's kind of zoom into the overall hazards this morning. And we've got numerous winter weather advisories out west, where they've got more snow flying out in those areas. And we got more snow flying in the higher mountains of Idaho and going into Montana. That continues to bring more snow into places like Flagstaff, getting into portions of New Mexico, going into Colorado. And then these are brand new wind chill warnings, where they're going to be seeing some dangerous wind chills up to almost 45 degrees below zero to the body. It only takes 10 minutes to get frostbite in that situation. So this is dangerous over the coming days. So definitely be aware for that. But we also have new winter storm warnings out into portions of Kansas here, going into Nebraska, as well as northern Missouri, southern Iowa, and going into Illinois, where I'm expecting some very heavy snow for them. And then down to the south, we're still dealing with that soup kitchen with a lot of the fog advisories this morning. And there's the flood watch that's set up overnight, and that heavy rain continues to fall for central Alabama, and the very high winds out into portions of the northeast. So let's zoom into the overall storm prediction center this for today, because that same system will dive down to the southeast, and now we're looking at some more severe weather setting up with a marginal risk as these same storms continue to push southeast. So now it's going to be getting into places like Charlotte, going towards getting in more of into Atlanta, going into Columbus, Mobile, Alabama, out towards almost to New Orleans here, getting into the panhandle of Florida, Savannah and Charleston. All these areas will be under the gun to seeing some of those strong to severe thunderstorms throughout the day. And so as we continue the view, we look at yet another very dynamic low pressure system that's really setting up off the coast of California. And this looks really big, guys, a lot bigger than what you saw last night, unfortunately. So we got a lot of active weather as this continues to pull into the warm sector. With all those warm temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, it's still there, draining down the cold air from the north. And that's the parent low waiting for this major low. And these are going to merge together and set the stage for multiple days of severe weather. Because by the time we get into New Year's Eve morning, tomorrow morning, look at the wind chills. That's why they've got the wind chill warnings out here, close to 50 below zero. That is some serious, dangerously cold, brutal air to the body. And those wind chills will just continue to sink further south as that Arctic air makes a beeline southward. So as we extend the view and look at the overall 500 millibar, as we get into that Friday night, midnight time frame, as you're ringing the bell into the new year, watching the ball drop, we've got a lot of severe weather, unfortunately, that's on the table. It's going to be setting up over it's going to start to get its act together, and that's just going to be the beginning stages of what's to look like a multi-day severe weather event as this traverses across from west to east. So let's dive into the details here and kind of zoom in. The Storm Prediction Center has actually upgraded the risk and actually pulled it back further into West Texas. We're looking at a beeline here with that Gulf moisture setting up. We're looking at some severe weather setting up from Abilene, and this extends all the way into portions of Kentucky, but really kind of honing in now into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, heading towards Fort Worth, getting into Nashville, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, into Jackson, going into Kentucky. We're going to be seeing some of those strong to severe thunderstorms. The main risk is going to be your damaging winds, an isolated tornado threat, and some larger hailstones falling from the sky out of this dynamic system that's really going to be gaining strength as we get into Friday afternoon, going into Friday night, especially into the overnight hours. Again, as you're ringing in the new year for New Year's Eve. So if you've got plans, you definitely be on high alert in these areas if you're going to be out and about for New Year's Eve. And a lot of people are. So this looks to be as coming in into more of an overnight event again. So definitely be on the lookout and make weather aware if you do have plans to be out and about. Let's take a look at the overall. This is about 11 o'clock on Friday night, going into early Saturday morning. We're seeing this convective banding really starting to take shape over portions of West Texas, getting into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and this extends all the way into Arkansas, going into northern Mississippi and portions of Tennessee and Kentucky. That's where they've got that severe risk, where I think storms are going to start to really intensify, and the back half of this system will push through the Dallas-Fort Worth area into the overnight hours, going into Saturday morning. And this just continues with, look at the dew points. You can almost see where the severe weather is going to be with these elevated dew points, low to mid 70s in the Gulf of Mexico. That is plenty warm. Widespread 60s, upper 60s for dew points. That's the warm sector, waiting for the cold air. And there's the cold air with those below zero negative dew points here. That's the drier air filtering in on the backside. So we've got a lot of nasty weather to deal with before that Arctic air drains in. Here's the setup to the north side as we go into New Year's Day morning, about 6 o'clock. We should start seeing some heavy snow start to break out in the mountains of Colorado, but this finally gets into Denver. So I'm expecting about 4 to 6 inches from this system into the Denver area. That swings into Kansas, goes into Nebraska here, into Kansas, eventually goes into Iowa, into Missouri, and then the southern side, we're going to be seeing some ice break out as well. So that's going to be a nasty setup here. And this is critical here, because you're talking New Year's Eve, New Year's Day morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. We could have some ice beyond the roads, and not just a glazing at times. Sometimes this could be up to a 1/4 inch of ice. So this is some nasty stuff going to be able to have to drive on in and around Kansas, going into northwestern Missouri here. And then that southern flank, that's where the severe threat really starts to take shape. So as we continue to view and go into New Year's Day afternoon, about 6 o'clock, it really starts to drain in the Arctic air. You can see the isobars really starting to tighten up. There's the convective banding setting up on north side of the 850 millibar low pressure. That's the deformation zone where that convective heavy band of snow really starts to fall. So we're looking at some pretty significant totals into portions of Iowa, going into northern parts of Illinois, southern parts of Wisconsin, southern parts of Michigan here, and to the south, you got the heavier rains and the severe threat that's really going to be setting up over the southeast again. Because look at the very dynamic upper level low really start to dig in by the time we get into Saturday on that New Year's Day time frame. And this looks to be another nasty setup, setting up for portions of the southeast. And there's a lot of shear that really starts to break out over portions of Arkansas, Louisiana, into Mississippi, into Tennessee, into Kentucky, southern Illinois. This is going to be a huge event with a kind of widespread potential outbreak on the table. Here's the latest Storm Prediction Center right now. They have a slight risk, but I do feel this is going to be really upgraded in the days to come. But right now, here's the bullseye as we go into New Year's Day. It's setting up just east of Dallas. As it moves away, that same threat continues to shift off into the east. Now we're talking places like Shreveport, going into Jackson, going into Greenville, Little Rock, Nashville, Tennessee, all the way up to Kentucky, going back into Atlanta where they're seeing the storms this morning, into Birmingham seeing the storms this morning, and back into Chattanooga, as some very strong to severe in all three modes of severe weather are definitely on the table with this event. And you can see how widespread it is, covering multiple states with this severe threat. And look at the low-level jet as it continues to move across on that Sunday, going into that Monday timeframe, January 3rd. It continues to shift off into the east, pushing the severe threat in its path. And then on the back side, you've got the cold sector with the snow and the Arctic air to follow. There's the setup as that Saturday night time frame into Sunday with the snow on the backside. So you got the first system that moves across, has a good swath of 4 to 6, 6 to 8. Once it gets up here into Iowa and Illinois, you're talking 8 to 12 inches of snow going into portions of southern Wisconsin, into portions of Michigan here. I think that's where the heaviest snow is going to fall, with those 8 to 12 inch swath. To the south, we're going to be getting some of that ice storm setting up. And then you have the severe weather. And then there's a second system. There's like a lagging system that's going to be lagging behind, that's in the Arctic air. So the Arctic air is the driest air. And a lot of this stuff is going to be trying to fall in the upper levels, but not much of this is going to be able to reach the ground. But there is a secondary low pressure system that's trailing the first system on the back side. So we have to watch this going into the Arctic air. So if any of this precipitation is able to reach the surface, all this is going to be cold enough to be able to snow as it kind of wrings out the moisture. So you can see a lot of dynamics really eats away the moisture content. The latest NAM, a lot of the high resolution models doesn't really have much with this second system, because again, it's falling in the drier air, but some of this could be falling from the sky. So it's not out of the question. You could be seeing some snowflakes on the back side of this system as we get into that Sunday morning within the Arctic air. And then as this continues to push through, there's the southern branch with the severe weather, and there's the cold air as you wake up on Sunday morning with these actual temperatures of 20 below zero into Minnesota, getting into below zero where they've got the snow on the ground, into Iowa, going into Nebraska, into portions of Kansas, even northwest Missouri gets below freezing. We're talking teens in Oklahoma, right? So that is a big change of what you've seen. Widespread 20s for Texas, even down into Austin. 27 degrees, the Panhandle at 16. Well, teens out west, and there's the warm sector out ahead, and there's the wind chills. Yeah, it's going to be a real shock to the body. We're talking below zero wind chills in Oklahoma as you get into Sunday morning, with single digits potentially into portions of North Texas, 13 in Austin. 31 wind chill in Houston. So yeah, it's going to be a really shock to the body for a lot of these southern areas that just has been so warm as of late. But there's the warm sector, and then there's that secondary system. So again, as this continues to push across, there's that back half system, that secondary lagging low that's going within the Arctic air. Now we're tapping into some of this moisture from the East Coast here that could get some wraparound moisture and be able to elevate and kind of feed this system with some more moisture. So some of this could transfer into snow as you get into portions of Kentucky and the back half, into Tennessee, into portions of West Virginia, and this will go up. This will go up the coast and kind of feed itself and mix itself out. So you're talking probably a dusting or two along the coastal areas into parts of the Northeast, but that won't be until January 3rd time frame. And then there's the actual blend with that heavy swath really setting up. You got more snow flying this morning in Seattle, more snow for portions of the Northwest. Again, much needed precipitation, more snow into Denver, going into a good swath into portions of the Oklahoma Panhandle, but especially into Kansas and Nebraska. And it really starts to get its act together in northern Missouri, southern Iowa, northern, central, and northern Illinois. That's the heavier swath of that 8 to 12 inch swath of snow that's going to be pulling through. And then there's the back half of this system that's going to be able to try to possibly wring out precipitation. It's going to be drying up in the mid latitudes on the back half. So you can see it's not much to fall, right? If it does fall, it's just going to be a dusting or something that maybe fall out of the sky. But once it taps into some of this moisture off the East Coast, it could pull in enough where we could have some accumulating, or at least 1 to 2 inches of snow into portions of Kentucky, West Virginia, and as this pulls off the coast here. So I'm not really expecting much with this back half system, but there are indications that there definitely is going to be a secondary low. How much is going to be able to fall out of it within the Arctic air is yet to be determined, but this is the overall blend as we have right now, and the overall consistency, and it's not much to fall on the southern side. Here's the overall ice setup that we could be looking at, a glazing to about a 1/4 inch of ice anywhere from northern Oklahoma into portions of Kansas, going in especially into northwestern Missouri, going into portions of Illinois and portions of Indiana. So be definitely on the lookout for some ice in those neck of the woods. And there's the heavier rain that's going to fall. And we could be looking at some flooding rains into portions of Kentucky along with the severe weather. So these systems could, tend to kind of slow down. So not only are you going to be dealing with that severe weather in a good chunk of the southeast, but some of these could be some flooding rains as you're kind of experiencing into portions of northern Birmingham and portions of Alabama this morning. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, hit the subscribe button if you hadn't already, and catch me in the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.